Hi, welcome to my ALD videos, and in this video today we will discuss how to explain a poem in the classroom situation. There are many students who do not like poems because they find them quite difficult because they cannot follow the thought patterns of the poet, and they also do not understand the language, the symbolic language that a poet uses. And so it is the teacher has to explain and make them appreciate the beauty and the music that a poem has. A poem is basically a song, and everybody has this ability, innate ability, to understand and appreciate songs. And we could use that innate ability of a learner to appreciate music and rhythm in a song. So to explain, but for examination purposes, we need to explain a few technical things so that they are able to appreciate as well as explain the matter in hand. So what is the first thing that we can do? We will discuss about 10 different ways to discuss and explain a poem. The first way is to explain all the figures of speech. And after explaining these figures of speech, we can ask the learner to point out the figures of speech used by the poet. For example, we can discuss metaphor if the poem uses metaphor, if the poem has metaphor. And after explaining what metaphor is, we can ask the students to point out the metaphors in the poem. And in the next, after they have found it, the teacher can explain what alliteration is if the poem uses alliteration, and then he or she can ask them to find the alliteration, the examples of alliteration. Similarly, if the poet has used personification, we should describe personification and then ask the learner to point out the examples of personification. And in this way, we have made the students read the poem 3 times. And after reading the poem for 3 times, learners will understand, will know about have some basic idea of the theme of the poem, which will help their conception, which will help them understand the poem. This is one way of explaining a poem. The second way is to point out, tell them what a rhyme scheme is. And after telling them what a rhyme scheme is, ask the students to find the rhyme scheme of the poem. And when we discuss rhyme scheme, we can discuss couplets, we can discuss different types of sonnets, poems like sonnets. We can discuss the musical tools we can discuss the tools used by the poets that create music in the poem. So we may ask the students if the rhyme scheme helps understanding the poem in any way. If it does, how does it do it? If it doesn't, why has the poet chosen a rhyme? Well, if we may also let them discuss, we can also lead a discussion regarding the necessity of rhymes, or the uselessness of rhymes, whatever the topic the teacher may come up to engage the students, so they actively join the learning process. In the next step, we can ask them to find the rhythm of the poem. Now, what do you mean by rhythm? This is the third step we can take. This is the third means of explaining a poem. Now, before asking them to find out the rhythm of the poem, we can ask them, we can explain what rhythm is. We can take any song and we can talk about the rise and fall of the tone, pitch of the voice. We can talk about the rise and fall of the different words. We can talk about the stressed syllables and the unstressed syllables, and see how stressing and not stressing a particular syllable create a music in the poem. and this is rhythm. And we may ask the students to find the rhythm if there is any. And basically, most poems have a rhythm, and if they can find the rhythm, their reading becomes easier and free flowing, which in turn can help them understand it. The fourth way is to look for the form of the poem. Uh, how has the poet written the poem? The first line has been the second line may be indented to the right. The third line and then it starts at the margin, and the fourth line again may be indented to the right. So that is the form, the physical form and shape of the poem. So why has the poet chosen to that particular form of for the poem? He could have chosen any other different form for the poem, like Shakespeare for his sonnets does not indent one of the lines in his sonnets. Does not indent any of the lines. He keeps all of them left aligned. Now, how does this form help in understanding the poem? We may ask the students. We may prick the students' interest in this line of thought. The next way is to explain why the poem has been divided into different stanzas. Are they like paragraphs? Do the stanzas talk about different themes, different topics, as we discuss different themes and different topics in different paragraphs? How do the stanzas help the poet change his thoughts from jump from one thought to another? We can explain the poem from this angle. We can actually, if we do all these steps, we will take normally around 5 to 6 periods, and in 5 to 6 periods they will have a solid understanding of the complete poem. The sixth way is to ask the learners to replace a few words with their own words. We can point out a few words in the poem, and then we can ask the learners to replace a few poetical words, to replace a few words that are musical. And after the replacement, we may ask them if the poem has become unpoetical or more rhythmic or less rhythmic. Like in that line of thought, we can steer the discussion, and that discussion will also help them appreciate how some particular words, even though they have the same meaning, cannot be used or may be used for that particular poem or for that particular line. Another way is to look for unfamiliar words, which is one of the oldest ways that we have been always using. We first pre-teach the unfamiliar words, and instead of pre-teaching the unfamiliar words, we may ask them to find them themselves and look for explanations if there is any in the footnotes. Normally textbooks prescribed for schools and colleges have notes below the poem, and most difficult words are explained there. And if they find words without any explanation, they can guess the meaning before looking them up in a dictionary. So this is another way of discussing the poem for understanding and appreciation. Another way is to another way is to find an alternative title for the poem. Is the title suitable? What is the significance of the title? If they can find any other good title or better title, they can suggest. And if they can find a title, it means that they have understood the poem well, and which will ultimately help them appreciate and write explanations that are asked in the examination paper. And lastly, we can ask them to figure out the genre, figure out the type of poem they have read. Is it a romantic poem? We may ask them if it is a modern poem. We may also ask them if it is a poem written in blank verse. And before using these terms, we have to explain what romanticism means, what blank verse means, what iambic pentameter means. So using these 10 different techniques, we can go about discussing a poem. I'm not saying that the teacher has to use all the 10 different techniques to teach a poem. He or she can use 5 of them or 6 of them or any of them, maybe 4 or 3, as per his or her needs. We don't have to use all of them. I am simply saying that we can use some ideas like this so that students can appreciate and understand poems. Thank you very much for watching my video. Please like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you.